Here I am at Paddington Station in London, which seems to be being built up again, on my way to Bristol, where I'm the keynote speaker at an Empowering the Innocent conference. Now you can say hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Jonathan.
Say it again.
Hello, Jonathan.
The madness begin, but before it does, we need to say goodbye to an old friend who sadly passed away this week. Back in the 1970s, I was approached and asked if I would make some records with Barry Humphries, or better known, Dame Edna Everage. I was at the time the top producer in Britain, possibly the world. And I went and met with Barry. We immediately got on. I suggested that he write a new set of lyrics for the Rolf Harris hit Two Little Boys, called Two Little Girls Named Edna and Madge. Madge was his sort of silent best friend, or her silent best friend. And he did that, and we recorded that plus a dance disco version of Waltzing Matilda, and Lightning Strikes, the old Lou Christie song, and we did all three of them. They worked terrifically. He was a joy to work with. We put out Waltzing Matilda, or Disco Matilda, because we weren't allowed to release Two Little Girls Named Edna and Madge. The publisher at the time, Rolf Harris, refused to allow the changes to the lyrics, because he said his song was basically a work of art and could not be changed. So we just put out Waltzing Matilda, or Disco Matilda, which you can hear if you like on Spotify or anything else. It's on the UK Records 80 Greatest Hits compilation. It didn't turn into a hit, but she did Top of the Pops. I went along and sang. You can spot me in the footage of Top of the Pops if you look closely. And we had great fun. And at the time I was running for election, just for fun, as the head of the Royalist Party, Kings. Me and my brother, Kings Royalists, in, I think it was Epsom or Barnes or Richmond, around that area. And Barry agreed to come as Dame Edna in my then open-top Rolls Corniche car and open the constituency headquarters. because the trouble is when you're campaigning, you can't get any publicity on anything because the other parties all require the same publicity. But if it's something like a celebrity opening an office, of course that doesn't count. So you get enormous publicity, as indeed we did. Every front page in every national newspaper had Dame Edna clambering out of the open-top Rolls Royce. It was marvellous. And also I got to know Barry very well, driving down and driving him back afterwards, an hour and a half journey each way. We chatted on, very amusing, because of course he was in full Dame Edna drag, but when he wasn't doing his performance, like for the half hour opening the constituency office, he was just Barry. And we just got on like a house on fire and remained good friends. And I spoke to him several times after that. Lovely, lovely man, great sense of humour, very funny. Dame Edna was brilliant, I thought. And the performance on Top of the Pops with him giving gladioli away at the end is an absolute gem. Sadly, the sound isn't very good on the clip. We've got the old clip of it. But the sound, as I said, you can get on Spotify or other streaming services are available. Either way, R.I.P. Barry Humphries, only 10 years older than me. I keep hearing that Grim Reaper knocking at the door. I open it, see her standing there with her thighs, scythe, not thighs, and tell her, "Oh, hello, Grim Reaper, fuck off."
Are you settled back in your armchairs at home? I want you to be absolutely ready for this, because if I put on an Australian accent and say two words like housewife superstar, it could only be Dame Edna Everage. Are you ready for this? What can I say? That is Dame Edna Everage. She's not going to let anybody go over there. An incredible sound called Disco Matilda.
The absolutely delightful and wonderful Barry Humphries, who sadly died this week, aged 89. He was an absolute delight to work with. Imagine Dave Lee Travis and Jonathan King both on the same programme being broadcast. It's absolutely shocking. Dave Lee Travis, of course, was, like me, a victim of the false allegations industry. And let's move on to more serious matters. Anyway, I arrived safe and sound in Bristol on the train. I do quite often attend conferences for people who have been falsely accused of sex crimes, because that's become a bit of a campaign of mine. And I was asked to go down to this one in Bristol, which I thoroughly was happy to do. The main point I'm making at the moment is slightly different, the one we've been bashing away for years and years, that the police are completely corrupt, or at least many of the police are corrupt. And they now are being attacked, as you know. The trouble is, with this superficialisation game and the media latching on only a good story, what has been turned into, just like in America, when police brutality with a man kneeling on another man's neck was turned into Black Lives Matter, which it really wasn't at all, and everybody ignored police brutality, which still goes on. Likewise, now in the UK, we have people examining the police who rape and murder people, preferably raping and murdering women, but they don't look at the much wider aspect of police corruption, such as the one we, victims of the false allegations industry, have suffered for years. But even so, I thought it was quite interesting in that the police who do rape and murder women and other people tend to use their warrant card to get the trust and manage to obtain the victim to do what they want to do. And I thought this aspect of using the law to break the law is really, really interesting. And I wanted to speak to the people at the conference for Empowering the Innocent in Bristol about the way that lawyers, ambulance chasers these days, are doing exactly the same thing. What happens is, you see, and I'm not going to bore you by listening to my lecture, I'm going to give you a précis while you see silent shots of me waving my arms in the air and telling all the students about this. Lawyers approach the inverted commas victims, close inverted commas, often of dead people or of people who were convicted and are in prison for crimes. That's usually sex crimes. And they say to them, they're called ambulance chasers, these lawyers. They used to do whiplash and all that sort of thing. And they say to these victims, look, we can earn you an awful lot of money if you'd like to make a complaint to the civil courts and say your life has been ruined by the awful behaviour of this dreadful man waving his arms in the air. And what's more, we'll do it on a no-win, no-fee basis, so it won't cost you a thing, no risk to you whatsoever. And we'll earn you several £1,000s, tens of thousands of pounds. And the poor, innocent, stupid victims, or liars, or false accusers, as I call them, whether or not anything has happened in the trial, you could have been acquitted of the trial, the person accused. They say, oh yeah, we'll go along with that. And it then proceeds down the route where a civil claim is put in. You, the perpetrator, are notified of this claim. You realise you've got to hire expensive lawyers and all the rest of it. Now, what normally happens is, before it actually gets to a trial in court, people settle on the courtroom steps instead of having to go through a trial and all the nightmare, especially if it's the estate of a dead person or the family of somebody who's locked up in prison and can't defend themselves, and you settle by paying a few thousand across, of which the lawyers get the vast large amount. I mean, it did amuse me that Jimmy Savile's will, almost all the money, millions, went to lawyers and none at all to the false accusers. So at least they got hardly anything out of it. But that is the current scam. It's called using the law to break the law. The University of Bristol Law Section is a very prestigious, very highly rated place, and it's most impressive. And a lot of the people gather there do have quite a bit of influence on what happens, so it's worth getting involved with these things and giving these speeches, even if a lot of the students seem to prefer sitting outside and lazing around, until, of course, the camera catches them. After we'd finished the lecture or the speech, I took my friends Alex and Georgia out for a lovely tea.
This is delicious.
Advert for this hotel.
With the coronation coming up, it's not generally known that King Charles and King Jonathan have shared the same bed. That's because Prince Charles, as he then was, followed me into my rooms up at Cambridge and must have slept in the bed I'd slept in for the previous year. As I came down, I left him a message saying, "Your Highness," as he was a prince then, "as a king steps down, a prince comes up, welcome to Cambridge." Whether or not he got it, I'll never know. Mind you, if he slept in the bed I've been in for the last year, he probably caught something unpleasant the way I was behaving way back then. The coronation is going to have lots of great fun things happening with it, but I have to admit one of the things that I don't really approve of is the coronation mug, which I've just bought. It costs something like 50 quid and is really nice and very nicely done, and I shall drink tea and salute him over the coronation with that mug. But it's not really a mug, it's sort of like a cup. In fact, it's like a small cup. I think it should be called the coronation tumbler. It's the size of a thimble. Way back in the 1970s, when the Queen was attacked by the Sex Pistols, Prince Charles requested some copies of my promo record.
My husband and I would like to thank the Sex Pistols, John, Bert, George and Frank, for bringing our name to the attention of many young people, too numerous to mention. In this year of celebration, it's hard to understand that we like to appeal all over the land to lords, ladies, dukes, earls, little girls with kiss curls, lawyers, MPs and doctors, yes, and even punk rockers. So you've kindly provided a way to get through and show all the kids we can do what you do. Message for all our supporters: don't phone into your stations or complain to reporters. The code word is dignity. Smile at the band. It's amazing what you can do with a wave of your hand. There's no need to lose cool. Though it's kind you objected, we'll still be around long after they've been rejected.
Quite a show this week. As you can see, I've always concentrated on making very classy, very good taste musical records. Anyway, that's it for show 24. Look forward to seeing you for episode 25 of A Victim Bites Back.